Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ambika. I'm an artist. We're going to do an abstract painting tutorial today. We're going to go straight into it. So we're going to throw on some gesso on top of this painting. So this painting is something I made a couple years ago. I have no emotional attachment to it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and use this large flat paintbrush. I don't know if you saw that little thing there, but I'm using a large flat paintbrush just to kind of cover this painting up with this gesso. Gesso is just a little layering to put on canvas, something nice to start off with to kind of like destroy the texture, the rough texture of the canvas. Sometimes you can see the canvas texture, and gesso is a good way to destroy that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this painting though. This is an old painting. The texture has probably gone, but I'm just anyway gonna use gonna use gesso to work over this painting. I just randomly chose this painting to because I was looking through my old paintings and I was like, this is not something I really have an emotional attachment to, so why not? I don't think it's an issue to like work over old works. So we're gonna go ahead and use red acrylic paint and white acrylic paint today. I just found these at Michael's store. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that little swirl and then another swirl. It's alright to just do this, or you could, use a plate or a palette like a regular person and mix your paints. But just in order to create like this kind of gradation, this kind of texture, I just went ahead and directly poured the paint over the canvas. And now I'm just trying to make little patterns, little motifs, just to kind of spread over, just to kind of cover ground. I would still count this as like a base coat, even though we're not gonna do too many layers today. It's just gonna be pretty much this, but just to give you an idea of how I use my tools, how I go ahead and start my artistic process. This is usually how I initiate it. I usually just go ahead and create a whole bunch of texture. So for those of you who don't know what impasto is nothing but the texture you create on the canvas. So it's like, the paint that dries into the textural mold that is what is called impasto. It usually, like sticks out of the canvas. So I am one to use a whole bunch of impasto in my works. I have always done that. There are some I realize when I go like when I make geometric shapes and when I make fine thin lines and when I make straight lines, I tend to not go as impasto as I usually do. But it really depends. It really varies. It really depends on my mood as well. So today I'm just gonna go ahead and use just two basic. It's gonna be three, but two for now. Two basic colors just for the base coat, just red and white. And if you can tell, just by mixing red and white in different like parts of the canvas, you create like different pinks, different variations of reds and shades of pink. I just realized that I'm not one for using a lot of pink in my work. This is definitely one of the few works that I use pink in, but it's usually it does happen. Um, yeah, pinks do happen here and there, but not as much. I'm definitely, if you have seen some of my earlier videos, I do talk about how I use blue a lot. I have a tendency to use blue a lot. So anyway, I think I'm almost done here, and that will be the last coat over that gesso under. So you can go ahead and like wash your brush off with like water in a cup and put that aside. Now we're going to take silver acrylic paint. We're going to put it on I'm just using like a plastic plate here that I can, dispose off later. But if you have a palette, use that too. I do usually use palettes. Um, Now I'm just using a round brush, a round skinny brush, and just using that, taking that silver and working. So I did kind of wait for some of this to dry off, not so it's not completely dry. It is definitely still wet. And I do believe the gesso is also a little bit wet, although I did wait a little bit longer for the gesso to dry off. It's still, they're all still wet under. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and create like the lines I usually create. So when it comes to my abstract intuition, I usually go for lines. I feel like lines really denote how I um, think about, like, my perspective of creativity is through lines and different curves and different, the linear quality of it. It's all based on lines. If you've seen my earlier videos, again, I did make a whole, there's a whole video about lines, and like, I think it was like 9 things about lines. Anyway, so now I'm just using straightforward, just taking the silver paint and just applying and applying and applying, and it does, so I'm not watering it down too much, which is why I have to go ahead and dip my brush into the water ever so often, which is why I'm doing it that often. So um but if you do want to thin it down, you can go ahead and, just use like a lot of water and really dilute it. It really depends on what kind of texture you're going for today. Um, I'm again highly textural, and I just like to slap on the paint just like that onto the canvas. I really enjoy playing with textures. Um, but then again, you can do like variations. You can um, have some parts of it diluted, some parts of it textural, so it's like a nice, it's like a going in and going out kind of effect. It's really up to you. You can play with it. Again, this is abstract art. My way is not, there's no fixed way. It's not the right way. It's just my way of doing things. So your way is going to be your way. And what you, how you play with it, how you experiment with it, it's all down to you. You will be making um, your own, your how you see the world, how what your soul speaks to you, what you think your painting is probably asking you to do. Maybe you can listen to it. Maybe you can kind of see how it guides you, if that makes sense. So again, I do enjoy geometric shapes, so which is why you can see me making, like, there are shapes in here which are geometric, which have like sharp edges. So I do like mixing them with the organic flow of the long lines I create, like the lines that just seem, endless. I do. I'm really not diluting this today at all. I'm pretty much just like I put my paintbrush into the water, but I don't really, take the water. It's just to kind of make the paint flow. But right now I'm literally just taking only the paint. Only when it does not flow at all is when I even dip it into the water. And even the dip is not very deep. It's just a little dip so I can make sure, the paintbrush is flowing, the paint is flowing, the lines are flowing. Again, you can experiment with different colors. Today I just used red, white, and silver. I am trying to minimize my colors. I have I have had like a crazy phase where I've, like, used a whole bunch of colors and try to, that's fine too. That was just a phase. Um, I'm not Picasso, but Picasso had different faces in life. I don't know if you guys know, but he had like a blue face, a pink face. It all was based on where he was in his life, which is really interesting. If you go and read his history, he had a really interesting life. Um, but yeah, you can go ahead and experiment with different colors. Just the way you apply these colors onto the canvas can change the effect. There are also like fluid acrylic paints you can use, which create really amazing backgrounds and really cool effects that you could go for. Like effects that you like can't imagine. You just kind of like, I will be making another video about like fluid paints. But these are just basic acrylic paints. They're available everywhere. I do just get my stuff from Michael's. Just make sure you are making work in, a decent under decent lighting. I do enjoy making work in like cloudy days. I can really kind of see the colors on my canvas, because I feel like when it's too sunny, it really does glare my work. The colors do kind of like, they're extremely bright, or when it's too dark. Like when it's like nighttime, I don't really like. I kind of stop painting at night because I feel like I completely see it differently, and then when I wake up, my painting looks completely different, and then that just kind of confuses me. But then again, I think it could be useful. Like you could, um, I think that could draw different perspectives, and that could give you new ideas. Seeing the same painting from a whole different lens. Morning and night. I don't know. I stopped doing that. Something about the yellow light and my work under the yellow light, it kind of confused me. So I'm just washing my brushes off here. Just basically with just gently with water. I do suggest don't like drop your paintbrush all the way under, and be rough with it, because that could spoil your tools. I think it is important to kind of respect your material here. Just be very gentle with your brushes. Make sure you wash it off. Make sure once you're completely done, when you do wash it off, I think a good thing is to always add some soap into your paint brushes. Remember, a teacher told me this a while ago, and just really, if you think you just like, when you're washing it off with water and you think you're done, you're really not done, because the paint does kind of stay at the edges, and like the next time you will see like, you know the little pinks in your brush. So it is a good idea to just soap take some soap and water and just really make sure you rinse it out. But then again, don't be too rough with it, still be gentle with it, and it will come off. Just basic soap, any soap you can find. Um yeah, I would completely wash it off every time. Yeah, every single time. And make sure every time you paint, you do use fresh water, because when you do apply water from, I don't know, like a previous painting you were making, and then if you're using that water, the colors can get kind of muddy sometimes, even though you're just kind of using the water to dilute the brush. Some of that some of that water could contain another color, and the color can come out muddy, and you don't want that. You want it to, you want to go with your visual. Um yeah, it's always a good idea to make sure all your tools are absolutely clean, and even your paints, make sure you completely close them, make sure they're tight. Acrylic paints especially do tend to dry up. I know I have witnessed this. I am a victim of this. Um so yeah, definitely close everything tightly. Definitely put it aside, and make sure when you do squeeze your acrylic paints into your plate or your palette, make sure you don't do like put in like too much paint, because you only want to put in as much as you need for that paint setting. Otherwise, you can't really use it for your next time. It's just gonna dry into the palette. It does look really pretty when it dries into the palette, but I think you do want to conserve your paint. You do want to save it. It's not the cheapest thing. So yeah, definitely don't put too much in one go. Just make sure you put as much as you need, because well, in watercolor that's fine. You can, if you do put more than you did need for that setting, that I think that's absolutely fine, because you can use it for the next time. All you have to do is like add water on it, and it's good to go. But that's not the case for acrylic paint. um Oils too, I believe, last. Depends on how much oil is in the paint. But yeah, I'm completely into acrylic painting now. I feel like it's the easiest material. I mean, the most convenient medium for me personally. It really, yeah, it really depends on the individual, but oils are beautiful too. We are coming to an ending here, so I did add some red as well. I don't know if you guys saw the red next to the silver, and this is it. This is the end, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do try this out. It is fun, and if you enjoy, please just subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know. Thanks for watching.